In the late 1960s, we begin to see lots of examples of where jazz mixed with rock and Latin and other styles. It was a very popular form. Groups like Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Chicago, different groups really began to emerge and push the envelope. Even on the rock side, uh, groups like Jimi Hendrix, 10 years after. These were Soft Machine, some of these kinds of groups were really kind of pushing the music in different directions at different times. Jazz musicians, especially a group of musicians who came from the tutelage of Miles Davis, and I'm talking about Chick Corea, I'm talking about John McLaughlin, and in particular Keith Jarrett, sort of developed an approach to playing improvisatory music and jazz that was a mixture of rock music, in some cases even a little bit of country music, but especially rock, jazz, and Latin influences. There was a record label called ECM from Germany that began to capture some of these experiments in the early 1970s. And some of the characteristics that we hear from the drumming in those days are referred to as broken time. Now, broken time is nothing new. Broken time was around in the playing of the 50s, and as we heard players like Elvin Jones or Paul Motion and others sort of break apart the time, Tony Williams, and not necessarily maintain a pure timeline. But these drummers, John Christensen, Bob Moses, and those sorts of folks in the late 60s, early 70s began to take a Latin pattern or a Latin rock pattern, and in the earliest days of the fusion period began to sort of play this new style, which did imply the time at certain points. So we heard. So the rules that we know of in drumming were being broken right and left over the 60s and 70s. Not always playing all the way through on one cymbal all the time. Not always playing the time, breaking away from the time. We hear that with Tony Williams. We certainly hear it with the free jazz improvisers. But even into the early 70s with the ECM artists, John Abercrombie, Keith Jarrett, Gary Burton, and the like, and the drummers that worked with them, we began to see these kinds of characteristics unfold, the characteristics such as the broken time examples.